On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel is changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
Wow. Jill Biden, 50 years later, more than 50 years later, she's still bitter that she didn't get a piece of that college bar. She's been on Air Force One. She's traveled the world. Kings, queens, presidents, lived in the White House for 4 years, and she's still upset about that. Folks, that is major because her ex-husband that she was just complaining about is in jail right now, accused of murder, and we don't know a damn thing about the case because Delaware ain't talking. It looks like a great big cover-up. Joel Gilbert, one of the great investigative journalists of our time and great filmmaker, expert on all things Obama, and just go to his website. We'll talk more about that and his amazing content in a moment. But Joel Gilbert, thank you for all your efforts in trying to shed light on this. Where do things stand right now? And hey, that's one hell of a quote, isn't it?
Yeah, that you can just hear the anger in her voice. I mean, she's recording an audio book, but she's angry during the recording. It's just amazing. Look, I did start looking into this because you've raised it on your show so many times, and it is fascinating to see if the Bidens possibly are pursuing some kind of vendetta against him. And sure enough, I put in 2 FOIA requests. I was actually directed to do that by the media representative at the Delaware Newcastle County Police Department. I put in 2 FOIA requests, one for records and one for communications. Within 1 hour, I got an email back saying that I cannot have any records because I'm not a resident of the state of Delaware. I live in California. So sure enough, I had a buddy in Delaware, and I got him to put in the same 2 FOIA requests. In his case, they took 24 hours instead of, 24 minutes, and they told him he didn't have a right to get anything. So the stonewalling in this case is really, really uncomfortable. We're members of the media. Public has a right to know. The Bidens are involved with this guy. And I want to know why the Newcastle County is not revealing one piece of information. We want 911 calls. We want an autopsy. We want the indictment. We want to see if this is legit or if the Bidens are still going after this guy.
It does suggest, quite frankly, I mean, if this guy killed her and there was evidence suggesting it and they don't like him already, I mean, hey, look at all this terrible stuff this guy did. You would think that they would want it out, and that they don't have it out. That really suggests something bad. And I think you're familiar with the conflict of interest potentially with the Judge Parker and with the defense attorney.
Yeah, look, the whole state of Delaware is a conflict of interest for like 50 years. You can't get away from it. But look, Bill Stevenson pleaded not guilty. There was a 2-month delay until he even got arrested. So that tells you that there wasn't like obvious evidence that there had been any kind of murder. So we want to know, did they get in an argument and she had a heart attack? Did they shove each other a little bit? Was it really a murder? And, Bill exposed himself by going on your show prior to the election, telling the truth about his relationship with his wife, Jill Jacobs at the time, and he talked about the affair that she had with Joe Biden, and that very much contradicted and probably pissed off the Bidens because it exposed their story that they met on some blind date as total nonsense.
Actually, we got a couple more clips of Jill Biden from various books. Go ahead, hit it, please.
How did you get this number? Those were the first words I spoke to Senator Joe Biden when he called me out of the blue on a lazy Saturday afternoon. It was March of 1975, and I had spent most of my morning running errands, so I wasn't expecting a call from anyone. Some people would have been excited to get a call from a senator. I was confused.
So a couple of things. It's very interesting that she used March of 1975. Now I'm betting that that's when the divorce became final. They do very little specifics, very little in the way of specifics. And as a matter of fact, with your investigative skills, the final divorce decree, I think that would be useful to have. Is that gettable at this point?
It probably is, but what's more gettable is the fact that Bill Stevenson talked about on your show how Joe Biden was in a car accident driving Jill's car when he was still married to Jill, and that's how he found out about the affair. So there is evidence that the Biden origin story of how they met on this blind date is not true. There was an affair. It was very relevant, I think, to the election because of the accusations that were going against Trump, to see that, Biden was full of it. And, there's a man in jail right now, and he did extend himself on your show telling the truth about it, and the state of Delaware is covering up every piece of evidence to do with the case. So I'm worried about that.
The more you mention that he's on my show, the more responsible I feel for his predicament, and that's not a bad thing. I really do feel responsible in some respects, and I want the best for him, and I want his rights honored. Now, I think why I'm intrigued by the divorce document, and you're right. Bill's statement is evidentiary. Some people will try to confront me and say, "Well, that's not evidence." No, actually, it is evidence. What people testify to, what people say. I've seen it before. You can introduce the content from TV shows as evidence, and that has never been rebutted. But what has been, well, do me a favor, hit me the next clip of Jill Biden. Just listen to this if you don't mind.
Fascinated by this story.
No, not that. We have another one. We have another one from the book. Yeah, give me the next one from the book. Sorry.
A couple of hours later, at 7 p.m. on the dot, Joe showed up at my door. He was 31 and wore a perfect suit and leather loafers. He looked so straight-laced that the first thought that popped into my head was, my God, what have I gotten myself into? The second was, oh well, it's only one date.
So here's the thing. She gets Joe's age wrong. This is a book that she wrote, right, when she had already been the second lady, and the campaign was already underway in 2019. In March of 1975, Joe was not 31 years old. He was 32 years old. I believe he was 31 years old when they were hot and heavy. It's almost like a Freudian slip, Joel.
Well, I think when people make up lies, they use partial truths. And I do believe when she said the phrase, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? But I think she said that when Bill Stevenson caught her in the affair with Joe, because she was into something that was way over her head, and she got caught. Now, I think she obviously changes the story later. Look, the Bidens have been telling stories, tall tales. Joe Biden tells tall tales about his college years, about his education, you name it. The Bidens have always been full of it. But there is a man in jail right now, and the concern is that because the state of Delaware is so corrupt and so incestuous for so many years, why aren't they releasing the public records in his case? And we have a lot of concern about that. Everyone has a right in the media to look at the records. The public has the right to look at the records. And Stevenson has a right to a fair adjudication of his case and a fair trial.
Do me a favor, Joel. You spent a lot of time in California. This is President Trump on the situation in California with the governor and L.A., and he's not happy. Go ahead and hit that if you don't mind.
It's voted in favor of that. It's really a shame, and it's so bad for the country. You'd almost think they hate the country because they can't. They're not stupid people. You can't cheat like they did. And look at the election in California as an example. After a week, they determined that the kid who's leading and had all the mojo, all of a sudden he doesn't make the runoff. And then I hit them hard on that, but I started talking about Steve Hilton, who's a fantastic guy. And I saw them say it was going to be 2 weeks before they knew. And I started hitting them. It's going to happen to Steve Hilton, too. You got to watch. And they approved Steve Hilton very quickly. They didn't want it. There was too much heat on him. The only reason he got approved, he had all the votes he needed, probably to be first place. But the only reason they approved Steve Hilton, it was going to be 2 weeks. They said it. And then they approved him that night because the heat was on them, because they're cheating dogs. And you can't have a great country when that happens. That's why Los Angeles, that's why that state is in such trouble. So
you know California. You were instrumental in the Swalwell situation. Your reporting there, I think, put a lot of people on notice about just how flawed he was, and maybe got the Democrats excited to get him out. Give us the lay of the land there as far as elections go?
Look, here's the lay of the land. The Democrat Party built the system for cheating, and they do that. It started really with COVID, where they decided to send every single registered voter, and they never update the voter rolls, put out 22 million ballots are out in the mail. I'll give you an example. I was in San Fernando Valley visiting a friend about 4 weeks ago. It's an apartment building with about 30 apartments. And on top of the mailbox area at the lobby, there's piles of ballots that have been apparently mailed to somebody that used to live in this apartment building sometime in the last 10 years. So there's just piles of ballots sitting on top of the mailbox because the mailman doesn't know where to put them. So multiply that by thousands of apartment buildings, and any motivated leftist can run around to apartment buildings scooping up these ballots, filling them out, waiting until the election is on the election day, and they see, well, we got this candidate, our candidate in the Democrat Socialist Party is down by about 5%. So they just stuff the ballots, they send them out. That's why you can't have a fair election when you have millions of ballots floating around the mailbox system and thinking there's any way to verify it. So they take weeks and weeks. There's no way to challenge signatures. The whole system is built for Democrats to maintain power. That's the answer.
And do me a favor, Pratt, just your assessment. It looks to me, well, look, I know the media called it. They've called it. All right, he's out. But Spencer Pratt was making noise about, hey, there are a couple more votes out there. He hasn't tweeted in 2 days. How do you account for him coming in third place after all that momentum out of the gate?
The only way to account for, Rothman, who was the least popular candidate, all of a sudden, she had a press conference on the night of the election and cried. She said, oh, my God, I lost. I'm so sad. She cried and cried. And her buddies in the Democrat Socialist Party, I believe, that are in the business of collecting ballots, decided to make sure there was no chance that Pratt had any way to get into the final two. And by the way, that's why they have a jungle primary in the first place, to try to exclude Republicans. And because Pratt had exceeded expectations and worked himself into the number 2 position, they elevated Rothman, days after the election by dumping ballots. So it's a very corrupt system. I don't know how we're going to get it corrected, honestly.
Well, there's always hope, especially with guys like you on the scene. Joel Gilbert, fearless truth teller. You can find him on Twitter very easily, or go to highway61ent.com, highway61ent.com for entertainment. That you did the Barack Obama movie, you did that amazing feature on Roseanne Barr. Hey, real quick, you sat down with Barack Obama's brother, didn't you?
Well, his alleged brother, Malik Obama, has been a good friend of mine for some years. I've interviewed him, and he himself agrees with me that he thinks my theory that the Barack Obama, the student from Kenya, was not the biological father, and the real biological father in my film, Dreams from My Real Father, I put all the evidence together that the man who raised Obama in Hawaii, Frank Marshall Davis, who was a Soviet agent in the Cold War, communist out of Chicago, this guy raised Obama and certainly was his ideological father, but he looks just like him. We think that's his real biological father as well.
And the idea of, it's kind of interesting, they went with the Kenya angle, which also became kind of a thorn in his side, the potential. Why did they pick Barack Obama Sr. as the guy who was the real father? Was it to distance himself from the father who raised him, or what?
Well, in Hawaii in 1960, there were very few black people, and they knew this Kenyan student at the University of Hawaii who was married at the time with 2 kids back in Kenya. And I think I chronicled how he agreed to pretend to be the father to cover up an affair that Obama's mother had with Frank Marshall Davis so he could get a visa extension and go to Harvard. But the guy was already married with 2 kids in Hawaii. They never lived together. You can see all my evidence on that one, obama'srealfather.com. It's been seen by millions of people.
Wow, I look forward to it. I saw it a long time. I gotta look at it again. And that would kind of add up. Barack Obama Sr., I mean, why did this guy visit his son once? You know what I mean? I mean, like, it was such an oddball story. Well, thank you very much. Joel Gilbert, everybody. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.